in social media, the first thing I'd say is this is not a law-free zone. And I think that's clear from the prosecutions and sentencing. Today we're due sentencing for online behaviour. That's a reminder to everyone that whether you're directly involved or whether you're remotely involved, you're culpable and you will be put before the courts if you've broken the law. Today we're due sentencing for online behaviour. Today we're due sentencing for online behaviour.
Boom. All right. Well, welcome everyone. And it's, I would say another day, but I want to say it feels almost like a week, Commander Rixie, since we did a stream. And yeah, it probably is, right?
Yeah, well, we've been busy though.
Yes. Yes. Very, very busy, folks. The scientist's work is never done. And now Commander Rixie just can't say. What does he know? He's not a scientist because he is officially one now. So, how does it feel?
I don't know. I feel a little cooey. I need a little bit more experience before I can.
Wait, am I
be
hearing
confident.
like? Is it coming through the speakers?
Is what?
Is that just your bassy resonance coming through? Oh, right.
It might be. I'm not hearing anything.
I guess so. Yes. So, well, latest on Cooey, I think he's giving up. He's giving up, and he's throwing in the towel, and he's just going to do biology. From Knuckle just sent me a
LOL.
I think that I'll miss the Giga Spiral streams, but yeah, we bullied him into submission, and that's what we do here. Bully
Really?
people on the internet.
I've not seen it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'll show it when
It's
we
news to me.
when
Apparently,
we switch over the screen. But yes, he's. Oh look, man. There's only so far you can get by claiming that. Well, viruses can't spread, basically, or RNA viruses, and I ain't too sure about that. I remain to be convinced, and what you should be doing is doing experiments. Why not? Why not get some? I don't know. What would be a safe RNA virus to handle that you could do in your garage? I don't know, but there must be one. There must be bloody thousands. But just
well, they're all infectious clones, Kevin. So
yeah, but just
irrelevant.
start with an infectious clone. Just see how long you can keep it going.
Well, I see a problem with that, and that is that all he really apparently has done in the laboratory is patch clamp. So maybe that's why he doesn't do experiments, is because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yes.
I'd like to think that that's not the case, but
Well,
the more he talks and the less he actions,
there's only so far you can get with pulling glass electrodes, I'm afraid. It's a look. I used to really like patch clamping, and as a sort of study technique as an electrophysiologist, it's great because you can basically get almost sort of, well, depending on how you're doing it, but for like what I was doing, where you're trying to deliver stimulation pulses, it becomes far easier to remove noise artifacts.
that's what she said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so you can do patch clamping too?
Yeah, I've done it.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not a world expert like him. But...
No, it's dull, right? Because it's just in a
That's not
dish, right? And well, no, you can. There are in vivo patch clamps, but it's rare, and you don't really say. It's very much a dish preparation, and it's good for sort of like pharmacology and that sort of thing. But
right, but you're not on a paper with Nobel Prize winners.
yeah, well, I think that's probably a good thing in this day and age.
Of course, neither is Robert Malone. So anyway, uh,
Yeah, much to his chagrin, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he now going to be heading the FDA? That's what I heard.
I have no idea. Um, uh, he's going to be heading something, which is disappointing. But
Amount of people that must just be like licking their lips at the thought of RFK getting into position of power.
oh, there's not that many, and they're all on our side. But
Really, I don't know, man. Like, there's he's had such a
I mean, I'm rooting for him.
yeah. Look, man, anything's better than the other side, but you know, can we expect? I'm just looking at the elections. I don't believe it anymore, dude. That's the thing. I've just completely lost any faith in.
I am concerned about the integrity of this upcoming election.
Yeah, and what's it? Just the German ones. Right? Did you watch that this week?
Uh, uh, I know enough to know that the AFD did really well, but that everybody it's kind of analogous to what's happening happened in France, where the right leaning party did well, but then everybody else is trying to prevent them from actually
Well,
having any
going
power.
so far as to change the result.
Oh, I've not seen that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I want to say it was like a day or so later. They were like, "Oh, we found some more results for."
Oh, they found some more vote. Okay, I didn't need to. Sorry, I need to do more digging in that because, yes,
Yeah, you just
my apologies.
you can't be upsetting that apple cart of these powers, right? And I suppose it's continuity of systems that they're after, and
Continuity of bullshit. Well, I'm not saying there's a correlation, but as I recall, the servers for the Dominion voting machines were in Germany back in 2020. I don't know if you remember that,
I do.
but
Yeah.
that is in fact the case. I'm not saying there's correlation.
Why would you have US election servers in a foreign country?
Why not, Kevin?
Why, yeah, why not?
Why would you need U.S. election servers at all if you have paper ballots? But whatever. I'm just saying.
So yeah,
Well, I'll put it this way: I voted twice in the last 6 months in different primaries, and in Virginia, and in both times, they had me show my ID, but I didn't actually sign my ballot. They handed me the ballot, but there was no place on the ballot to like identify yourself, which is really weird.
well, doesn't that should be the case though, right? Because it should be
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they handed me a ballot and there was other people voting. How do they know which ballot is which? It makes it so you can't identify.
yeah, but you don't want someone's name on a ballot though, right? That's the whole point in
They keep track. They keep track of who you vote for.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, another reason not to do it then.
So, I mean, if they keep track of who you donate to, Kevin, you should know this.
Yeah.
They keep track of who you're voting for.
Yeah, I suppose. But
No, and then they sell those on the market, on the political ad market, for targeting ads. So absolutely, they knew who you're voting for, and but it's just strange. So in my location, they did require proof of residency, but I've not voted in a presidential election in Virginia, and I think it's different for presidential elections. But I will find out because I will be voting early while I'm back in the States.
yeah, like I say, there's
I'm having doubts. Yes.
Yeah, I've got a feeling they do what they want, and if it's a case of, look, man, they're fucking balls deep in a war that they don't seem to be making any moves right now to extricate themselves from it. And if you've learned anything, right, the well, not the opposition, but the Democrats, right? What does that show you? There's nothing in control, right? Or what you think is supposed to be in control isn't.
Well, because it's a giant funding scheme for the military-industrial complex, like just transfer of wealth, more transfer of wealth from the citizens to the MIC. It's kind of out of Trump's hands until he's actually elected, and so they're just going to keep gorging themselves on printed money until there's a policy change, and even then, there's going to be they'll shift those funds just more directly to NATO if he actually ends it. So I wouldn't be watching and expecting. You're not going to see anything until Trump actually wins, and they're doing everything they possibly can to prevent him from winning. So ipso facto, you're not going to see much movement because they think they're in control.
Yeah, and are you going to see anything?
I don't
Even if he wins, I'm just not sold anymore on the.
I think Ukraine will end, but unfortunately, all they'll do.
Well, Russia's deciding that one, bro. I was just looking. Where was that? I was in the Telegram, right? That they've got upgrades to them winged fabs that they can now fly them in from like 80 to 100 kilometers away. And I think at that point it's fucking game over, man.
Well, I mean, Trump has zero interest in Ukraine. The deep state has every interest in Ukraine because it ties to the current administration. So that's why they need Trump to not get in office, because then there could actually be some investigations. So there's every reason for them to steal this election again.
What were we listening to the other day? And I was just like, man, that dude was nailing it. We were Benz, right? We were driving to
Mike
Tokyo.
Benz?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was killing it.
Yeah.
Slaying it.
I was like, yeah, look, man, if even a quarter of what he was saying is in any way accurate, which I think it's way more than a quarter. I think he's very, very much.
Seems pretty legit to me.
Yeah, yeah. And so why would they? Well, I suppose there's the sort of strategic posturing of like they've still got to maintain the illusion of choice, right?
Yeah.
Because if that implodes, then once the party trick is over, it's just use of force.
Oh yeah, it's just the party. Oh, you mean like in Brazil right now?
Yeah, I don't even. I just know that Elon Musk is upset about it because that's all I see in my feed on Twitter.
Well, I just realized that the other problem is that even if we extricate ourselves from Ukraine, then all that'll happen is they'll just move their focus to China. But then I just realized that they can't see what I'm seeing on the big screen. So I don't know if you can pull up that.
Let's march on with.
Let's march on with the meme because that's the perfect little.
Yeah, this one is not from the bunker, but I thought it worth putting up there. It was in the Discord today, but I want to say it came from Jake Shields, and
I mean that is exactly what they're going to do if they shut down Ukraine.
Yes,
and I do believe Trump will shut down Ukraine, but that's exactly what they will do.
Yeah, but when you're on the fucking receiving end of the beating that they're taking, right? Like how much more can they escalate that? Right? They've basically sent NATO material. They're using NATO intelligence assets, everything, and have basically crossed over the borders into Russia. The only thing they haven't done is basically authorize long-range strikes with the ATACMS, right?
Right. Well, I think there's a growing, and this is just my own personal opinion on this, but I would guess that there's a growing number of individuals within the Five Eyes deep state apparatus that are saying, okay, yeah, we're not, Ukraine is a lost cause. We'll keep pumping as long as we can, but we
Well,
need to.
there's always the big cage fight at the end of time, sir. Keep bumping those.
Right, you have to find a justification to shift NATO, or shift funding away from NATO and to, well,
just goes back.
Israel and or Taiwan. I mean, as much as you can. So there's going to be now once again in the last administration, Trump was the only president in my lifetime that didn't get us involved in a war. But there's going to be a lot of pressure, even if he gets out of Ukraine, to swing our shrinking wang to some other part of the globe. So
fucking cables everywhere and people. Well, that's the lab update. I haven't done. We have data to analyze, but we're in the middle of trying to shield everything because I want the quality of data to be immaculate come the next rodents that we'll line up. And before we do those next rodents as well, that's the conductive or Faraday cloth, I should say, and
lining the cages with.
And Charles has been getting a lesson in the art of the superstition of grounding. It creates all manner of problems. Why doesn't work? Get up. It's probably all out of focus now. But
So yeah, so that's moving apace.
Yes.
We've done the intramuscular injections. Are we gonna do another set before I leave?
yeah, we can do. I mean, look, generally,
We
I
still don't
don't
have the
see.
microtome yet,
Right,
right?
they haven't grown horns. They're still alive. So either the vaccine is just out of date, can't do anything, or it's just gonna take an inordinate amount of time to find something. And you know, who was I put the link in the chat yesterday, but there was another dude that just collapsed on stage and died. Well, you know, it was hardly the healthiest specimen, but
Well, they just had yesterday, Sol Bamba, some retired soccer player, 39 years old, collapsed and died. And there was a couple of retired NFL players, I want to say, that were in their late 30s, early 40s, that also in the last couple weeks have also died. So I've gathered, I've been capturing. In fact, let me see. I know I've got one window open here right now. Where'd that go? That's weird. It's gone now. But basically, this is actually from about 9 months ago. But 3 deaths in 3 months. 2 Parris Island, so Marine Corps boot camp drill instructors died in non-training. Like they just died for no
just
apparent.
shuffled off this mortal coil.
Shuffled off this 2 of the fittest human beings on the planet.
Yeah.
And then there's actually 3 on Parris Island that died. One of them was a student, a recruit in training. And so once again, the sudden deaths continue.
Yeah, well, we'll touch a little bit on that on the stories
That's what
that
she said.
we're looking. Right. You broke my chain of thought there.
I know. I shouldn't do that. You're getting old enough as it.
Yeah, that's
Prions.
limited bandwidth, and but
Anyway,
we will touch on some statistics that have come out with respect to deaths, and I want to get to the Fibrin spike paper that came out in Nature, because I haven't read it. I've been wanting to read it, but I've been trying to save it for a stream. And so why is that important? Because that may be where much of the pathophysiology lies, which is something's causing fibrin to misbehave, to fold abnormally, and then all manner of knock-on effects can occur from that, including neurodegenerative and potential prions. The zombie apocalypse might still be upon us, depending on of course, I should announce the press release by Greg and team. I don't have that actually up. Let me just bring that up real quick. But I want to.
Greg being the chemist out of
Yes.
Australia,
Yes.
who was analyzing the blood clots.
Yes, and this. Can we dismiss those as fabrications? No, not when you're doing mass spec and you're finding human peptide signatures in there, and a whole bunch of them. And so, I can't dismiss the rubber-like clots and the.
Oh no!
Oh,
Sorry, that was me.
the concern I have, which is perhaps even more than like amyloids, are misfolded peptides that generally their binding is non-covalent. They're stubborn and difficult to treat. But if we're in a situation where, if what he's saying, and I should bring up let's see if I can find it real quick. Here, if what they've found is true, and we do have some odd data points to take into account, which is that there's this consistent signature of tin being found, and this has been confirmed across multiple laboratories. And tin is this catalyst used in polymer chemistry to make, I don't know, just think plastics, epoxies, things of that nature. And if they've gone and done something that's making these polymers, this tin catalyzed polymers, they may just essentially be like rubbers, right? And virtually sort of, or forever like chemicals in a way. Very, very tough to get rid of. And so there's the press release. I'll put the link in the chat. And they've actually done a very, very good job of just using layman's language to discuss their findings. And I hope to get my hands on some samples, and we can maybe do some experiments. But yeah, it could be we could all be in for a rough ride. Just if, I don't know, even if you said, I don't know, pick a number, I suppose. Even if it was like 1% of 5 billion in the next 5 years have some catastrophic event just because of that. That's a lot of people. A lot of people. Just gonna shuffle off this mortal core like those Marine Corps drill instructors.
I'm terrible at math, so I actually pulled up the calculator. That's 50 million.
Right. Second World War.
That's correct. That is Second World War, including civilians,
Yeah.
which ranges from 50 million plus. Yeah. Second World War, and we're the conspiracy theorists.
Yeah. All right. So, and look, it could be a lot more.
Imagine Imagine if the Second World War happened and you were told by the media, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
That's what just happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Amply and ably abetted by many a moron.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into this real quick. So we did the meme for the day, but
That's also what she said.
if housekeeping, if you wondered wondering who I am, that is me underneath Charles there. Kevin McCairn. You can find me on the internet on ResearchGate, as well as Commander Rixie here. He's on there.
Hey.
And what I would encourage you all to do is, if you want science for the public, by the public, please bookmark McCairnDojo.com, send shekels, because where we're doing this stream right now is a laboratory, if you've wandered in here for the first time, and we're trying to actually answer these questions in a manner which isn't subject to how should we say, conflicts of interest.
A bought and paid for laboratory where operating off of donations.
Yes, yeah.
So
pretty amazing as it goes. So I'm hoping, I got the word from the importer yesterday that the microtome and other assorted bits and pieces are winging their way right now. So maybe by the end of the week they'll be here.
All right, so hit that Rohypnol button.
Yes.
Or
yes,
if you want
to, because it still costs money to run them, and it's time, right? And like, I don't have the time that I would used to have for streaming, because it goes into chasing ground loops around very cramped environments with hand-built homebrew electronics. It's a nightmare. All right, of course, in this day and age, hopefully I should be able to refresh that. And you need trenches in the information warfare, and that's our trench. WeTalkYouListen.com, WTYL.live. You go there. Please upload like video archive. It's not document archiving, but those little video clips that get lost to history. Put them there, and we'll do our best to make sure that they get sent off into the future, even if we get turned into dusty prions.
Well, even if we do get turned into dusty prions, at least we have $50 dono from Curious Knuckle.
Oh,
so
yeah, very nice. Thank you.
That will help our prions.
I'm just looking at there's more. Look at this. I saw this yesterday. No sound, obviously, but what's that sound? No. They're just using drones. So this is Ukrainians using drones to drop thermite onto
Wow.
positions. What the fuck, man?
You know, I have PTSD, and I can't imagine.
Look, all the trees.
IEDs were horrific. I can't imagine being in those trenches.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of this modern warfare.
No. It looks a nightmare, man.
Thermite.
Thermite
via
drones.
drones. Oh my God.
Wow. Oh man, just
A generation of two generations of Ukrainian men, just
yeah,
and Russians, but
yeah. Well,
Jesus,
those Slavs, they deserve it. Apparently, that's what our rulers seem to believe. That.
well, I mean, that's what Henry Kissinger said. So
what the fuck,
but
man?
he's right about everything. May he rest in hell.
Yeah. All right. Right. Onto this gem. I've hidden the tabs from Charles. He doesn't know what's coming, but
that's also what she said.
Taxpayer-funded AI targets vaccine skeptics.
Oh, you did give me treats. This is nice.
In social media surveillance. And Yeah, this is look. This hybrid war, whatever it is, whatever comes out the other side, will have all these. How should we say? It's the new control mechanisms, right? And I'm sort of taking the view that don't go quietly into the dark night. Is that how that poem goes?
Don't go gently into that good night.
Yeah. And it's a very tech orientated dystopia that they have lined up for us. And I'm of the position though that the strategy to deploy is that it's just stuff that man has made, right? So if we've made it, it's open to how should we say, like it can be probed and understood, and there are ways to push back against it, and that's where I think the jihad should go, as we sort of figure out the biology. We may be a little late off the starting line with actually being able to do these experiments, but I'm convinced that individuals sort of coalescing together in this instance with sort of shared goals and what have you can push back against this type of tech. I'm not sure it's the be all and end all that these monsters hope it will be. But
well, I can definitely say that we're on whatever these lists are, we're on them. I mean, if I know you called Gorski a pedophile, and I'm on his list of anti-vaxxers, so published. So we can be reasonably sure that we are amongst the vaccine skeptics that they're referring to in this article.
Yes. Guess where this study is being done?
Oh, Stanford.
No.
Oh, Columbia. Harvard.
No.
One of the three.
University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, home of what's her name? I've forgotten. The Nobel Prize winner who made.
Catherine Carrico.
Yes, how do you say it? Carrico.
Carrico. Yeah. You know who else is at UPenn? Susan Weiss.
Oh yeah. It's funny.
God, these people are evil.
Yeah, I was at Thomas Jefferson University, and UPenn was the scabby state thing at on the periphery of Philadelphia. It wasn't a how should we say, plush or premier institute to be going to.
Well, it's ironic because it is one of the more highly rated academic institutions, but not in the sciences, I would say. It is considered an elite institution, ironically. But just for those who don't recall, Susan Weiss is one of the co-authors of numerous propaganda pieces pushing the zoonotic origin. And she was one of the signers of the Lancet letter. And she's also one of the ones that we have on record in emails between her co-authors on a paper, specifically one of their arguments was to attack the HIV insert hypothesis back in February of 2020. We have her stating, "Oh my God, this looks bad. The furin cleavage site looks like it can't be natural." So it wasn't just the proximal origin authors. It was Susan Weiss and Linda Safe and a whole crew of Chinese scientists as well. So that's UPenn. So
yes.
There you go. Not surprising that they would also be involved in.
And now here they come. Here they come for your sovereignty online.
So after one of their premier scientists at their entire institution lies in the scientific record and says the exact opposite of what she actually believes, they're going to come after us for our disinformation and malinformation.
misinformation, sir.
Same university.
It may be true, but it's misinformation.
No, malinformation. in that case.
Malinformation. Oh, fucking assholes.
Fuck these people.
Yes.
Fuck the University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. All right. Next one. It's even worse, but this is the UK. We'll just do this, but it's maybe a little old story, but I only saw it this week. So, Royal College of Nurses basically says that if they perceive you or think that you're racist, they can deny you medical treatment now in the NHS. That's right.
I know Amber isn't watching, but I'm sorry, sweetie. We're not going to Britain anytime soon.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And not just because I literally might be arrested at the border.
You look like a fought criminal there. No treatment for you. No band-aids on your ouchies at the hospital if the nurses perceive that you've engaged in wrongthing.
That's impressive. I mean, in the U.S., it was. We have on record that they would deny care to unvaccinated people.
Oh, they would do that as well.
But for racists, that's another level.
Yeah, and of course,
the UK for always being ahead of us.
It's subjective as well, right? So
no, it's not, Kevin. Racism is real. It's not subjective. How can you know? How can you be in their shoes?
I suppose.
No,
yeah, I'm just
subjective.
emanating hate crimes, left, right, and center.
I mean, you're like a walking hate crime, but nonetheless, you're right most of the time, and but it doesn't matter that you're right because if you went back to the UK, you'd definitely be arrested.
Oh my God, there's no way I would set foot in that country now with the situation being what it is at the moment. They could just...
I mean, they've already debanked you.
Yeah, well,
So,
they could just throw away the key and just tie you up in logistical knots. What was I want to say basically, it was a 12-year-old. It was some young teenager for I want to say it was a custodial. No, they would have given a custodial sentence, but for that's something really innocuous around the riots, and it might have even just been. It just goes by so fast. I can't keep up with it, but I'm just like, look, man, if they're coming after China, and like British people just are not doing anything. They're just sitting there taking it. Like, if you can't even have the fucking gumption to just fucking get out the place, just
Well,
stop contributing to it. Stop. Whatever it.
It's not a coincidence that this happened just in literally a week after Dahmer took office. That they, of course, one of the reasons that British people were upset with the Tory party is because of their handling of COVID. And I'm not sure what the fuck they were thinking and why they would expect anything better, because Labour would have just been worse. But then you have that, and it's not a coincidence that now it's happening in Brazil. And Brazil is just a whole nother fucking level, because that's the 4th largest country on the planet Earth in terms of population.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? How?
230 million people.
I mean,
it's the next largest country after the United States in terms of population. So yes, that's terrifying. It's happening everywhere. But yes, it's good to know that
I had no idea Brazil was so populous, dude. I just thought.
Well,
where's that all come from? Like, people don't make Brazil a sort of target destination for migration, do they? Am I?
No, it's not. It's not that they've always had a large population. They have a large immigrant population. They've had a large slave population. That and they've always been several times larger than all of their neighbors.
I need to be paying more attention to my world almanac. I had no idea it was such.
Well, you have a analog geographer right here.
I will.
I'm
Well,
it turns
pay,
out I'm
pay
pretty.
dividends.
Turns out I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Already. All right. So yes, you can be perceived as being racist now and refused medical treatment, and you know the next step of that obviously is just the surveilling of your social media accounts, etc. And that's all going up there and into their central data banks.
I mean, it's basically a social credit score without even having it official yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it's going, and that's precisely where they would want to go. Right? What's the growth industries that they can make? Right? If we've sort of reached this point of
digital slavery.
Yeah.
That's the growth
That's basically
industry.
it, right?
That's the growth
So
industry.
you're once everything is being made or automated away and sort of done in a manner which is, well, you know, what have they aimed for? Which is that the world that you're inheriting is one where there was you could say there was this first world edge, right, with material wealth, the opportunities that were open to you, and I guess the trajectory of the global transnational groups, think tanks, whatever it is, you can't bring everyone up to first world standards, so you just bring everyone down, right? And this is what they're doing, and so but there's no industries in which to the mass industries of the last centuries. And so where do you put the time and resources for the population that gets through the bottlenecks that they make? And it's just
Well, actually, I disagree. I think it's ironic that people are looking at it this way, but in real terms, when I was back in college, originally, and I was studying to become a teacher, I was also working on a graduate GIS certificate. Back when I was 19, I took a global market economics class taught by Professor Brian Barry, who's the world's foremost geographer, for what it's worth, at the University of Texas at Dallas, a Brit, and teaching from the book that he wrote that was heavily cited. He was showing, and this was prior to what we know now, so it's actually improved. Everybody talks about how socialists want to bring everybody down because they say that we can't we can't afford via energy consumption, etc., to bring the world up to the U.S. standards, for instance. So we have to bring down everybody to a level playing field. But the exponential growth of technology, I believe, is actually going to do the opposite if they actually allow people access to it. The problem is that they're hogging it all to themselves at the 1%. And what do I mean by this? Well, we've already seen in the 1970s, in 1974, I think it was, as Nick would say, and whatever, as Henry Kissinger put together that white paper where he's talking about population dynamics, and there's going to be 100 billion people by the year 2100. And they were off by, 90 billion of what it's actually going to be. But they said that we're going to run out of food. Well, what happened in the 1970s as they were making this prediction? As taught by me in 2000, taught to me in 2002 by Brian Barry, a genius at global market economics, he showed that they didn't plan for the fact that crop yields due to gene-altered rice and wheat, etc., they didn't know that crop yields per acre would go down 100-fold. So the same amount that used to take 100 acres, they could, the efficiency with which they were able to do, they really get a yield of 100x per hectare, or whichever way that you wanted to explain it.
God bless glyphosate.
Right. So, and that was a confluence of different events. But the point is that it was that foundation which allowed the average caloric intake of the entire planet to become more equivalent. So that brought 90% of the people who were of the percentage of the population of the planet who were below the poverty line, it brought 90% of that above the poverty line in my lifetime.
Yeah, I think I think
this is
policies
never
have
talked about.
changed though.
Well, yeah, policies have changed. Now you're seeing governments trying to crack down on this growth because they don't they
There's
see
too
this,
many of you lick spittles.
they see this as a problem. And of course we know that the growth that's taking place in Africa in particular, Asia, but especially India and now in Africa, well, Bangladesh and Vietnam and a couple others, but mostly in Africa, that's being offset by the dramatic decline in birth rates. And that was prior to the pandemic and the bioweapon being released. So Henry Kissinger literally said in 1977 in a report to President Carter that the population of human beings on this earth would be 100 billion in the year 2100. And we're in the year 2024, and we're not going to get above 10 billion.
Not if they have their way.
No. Even if we're not going to get above 10 billion because of birth rates and all the other shit that's going on. So, but once again, they couldn't perceive of the world being able to feed 10 billion people. And yet we were able to do it because of technological advances. So all this bullshit that they're talking about, I completely disagree with. I think we absolutely have the capacity for it. And it's just a giant scheme. I mean, I think Elon Musk is right to point out that birth rates need to go up, not down, because we're facing a population collapse.
And well, there's always, and I can never quite grasp the need for how things have always got to go up. There is steady states that you can.
Well, there is steady state, but our problem right now is not that we're steady state. The problem right now is that once again, I believe that with the appropriate growth in technology and allowing it to everybody, that it will solve a lot of these problems. But at the present moment, especially in the West, where we have these declining rates, and the answer is not to flood the gates with barbarians. As a historian, I have a master's degree in Roman history. I can tell you, flooding the gates with barbarians is not the way to solve this problem.
That always works out well.
It doesn't end well for anybody.
All right.
That does bring everybody down to a level. Anyway, sorry.
They said. I think that's their strategy, though. Right now, I don't think it's all Jetsons and Star Trek.
Yeah, but that strategy is because they want to maintain control, not because they care about the future of humanity.
Which is why you need to team together, pool resources, so you're not subject to woke nurses declining you medical help. All right, what did I have next? Oh yeah, just this is how bad the enforcement is getting. This was yesterday in Ireland.
I arrived for work here.
Oh, I saw this. Yeah,
you can hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
That coming through.
I can hear
it. Just to get some background here, this is Ireland. That's the Emerald Isle, and they have taken it upon themselves to. I'm lost for words, really, to try to put this in any cognitively meaningful way that just doesn't sound absurd, but basically are now just arresting teachers who, on principle, because of their religious faith, are not complying with the state diktats, are now arresting them for not using preferred pronouns in school. I just want that to sink in, man. I don't know who that is.
GDL says he's a gayist.
Well, me too. I don't know who that is calling me. Right. So.
He says. Did this American just call me a barbarian? I don't know. Where are you from, GDL? I don't know. Maybe
I
you
know.
are. Maybe you are a barbarian.
It's in the blood. I know that much.
I don't know where he's from, so.
All right. Let's just play this. This is it's 2 minutes.
I have a right to work here.
He has a right.
I have a right to be here. And
You're
I'm
arresting
not
him.
to tell students they need to tell puberty blockers.
You're arresting him
Not
because
to
he
tell
won't
students
endorse
that they need to
transgender
take
ideology.
puberty
Shame upon you.
Shame on you.
Here at Wilson's Hospital School, Enoch Burke, teacher, been arrested for not accepting transgenderism.
He looks a right wrong in that one. A real.
Look at that xenophobe.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Just born for crime. Look at him.
That's weird. I don't see a machete in his hand. I see an umbrella. That's strange. Where's the machete? Where's the knife?
Wow.
Nor should I. And I'm not going to turn my back on my duty to my students.
I'm not going to turn back on my duty.
No, you don't have a duty to do what's wrong.
No, you never
And to
have a
bring me
duty to
before
do
the
what's
court. To bring me before the court.
Those
No,
gates.
to bring me before the
Even though
court.
there's abuse.
This is a
Puberty
disgrace.
blockers.
Children are being
Puberty
taught
blockers.
to tell a young boy.
Suicide.
Surgery.
Yes,
Surgery.
surgery, mutilation.
Yes.
Yes.
Mutilation.
It's a
And
disgrace.
suicide. An absolute
Mutilation.
disgrace.
Disgrace.
Mutilation.
An absolute
You're
disgrace.
telling a
Puberty
boy that he's
blockers.
gender
Do you have
neutral.
a conscience?
Yeah, that he has to take chemicals. That he has to
And
take
he has broken no
chemicals.
law.
That
He
he has
has
to take
broken no
I'm going
chemicals.
to be heavy-handed.
No, that he has to take chemicals.
Careful now.
He
Careful
has
now.
broken no law.
Shame upon you.
You have no right.
Shame upon you, Garvey. Shame upon you.
You've no right to do
This is my
this.
workplace. This is where I
This is
should
an
be.
innocent teacher, a Christian man.
Broken no
And
law.
I won't
Shame upon you, Garvey Síochána.
Mr. Burke has broken no law.
be asked
He
to
has
endorse
broken
it.
no law.
I have a right to my job.
His
I have a right to
constitution.
work here.
He has a right.
I have a right to be here. And
You're
I'm
arresting
not
him.
to tell students
You
they
won't
need to
promote
tell
puberty
puberty
blockers.
blockers.
You're arresting him
Not
because
to
he
tell
won't
students
endorse
that they need to
transgender
take
ideology.
puberty.
Shame upon you,
Shame on
Garvey.
you. Shame on you.
Shame on you, man. Shame.
Wow.
I will just. That's,
Church of Ireland.
Church of
Secondary.
Ireland, yeah. Look, what should you take from this? There's going to be no arguing with the stormtroopers that enforce these diktats.
How do they look at themselves in the mirror? How does an Irish police officer look at himself in the mirror if he fucking does that?
Well, I can always just get.
Because at least Ireland, like, they hate the UK. Like,
Well, I was going to get some
so
good old
why would
casual racism in here and just say they're a bit thick.
yeah, but I mean, they were smart enough to fight the Brits. Why are they adopting this stupid bullshit?
Yeah, they'll fight anyone with enough whiskey.
Yeah, so would you.
Yeah.
You'd fight people without whiskey.
That's true. But yeah, if Ireland has reached this point this quickly, it's not a good sign, folks. And
That's racist.
quite shocking, but just
Wow.
which is again, you've just got to find ways outside the system, and that's the only conclusion I can come to at this point. You can't fix this from within at the moment. Burn it down. Burn it down. Give Starmer an excuse there to add another offence on the whatever it is.
We're literally like 6 months from V for Vendetta.
Well, you mean the dystopian part, the people standing up part? I'm not so sure, bro.
Oh, Well, what it took like a decade for that to happen. Yeah. Yeah, the dystopian part. I meant.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause it was like a generation. It's like 15, 20 years, I think.
that movie is. How old's the movie? You mean?
No, I meant like the length of time from the time, like how long that fascist regime was in power
Oh,
before they rose up.
I've
But
only-
anyway, no,
I've
that
only
movie.
seen it twice, and the second time I watched it, I was like, this is a movie for homos. This was part of the gay propaganda.
There,
back at the time.
Alan Moore, the writer, the comic writer, who also did The Watchmen, by the way, two of my favorite comic books and movies. But yes, he was a flaming liberal. But at the same time, he was a liberal in the sense of, Richard Dawkins, 1990, not Keir Starmer's fucking
woke tyranny.
yeah.
It's kind of funny seeing how Richard Dawkins reaching the end of his stint on this mortal coil is becoming more and more, should we say, religious in this instance.
Yeah, the same thing happened to Christopher Hitchens. And I was just talking, we were talking the other night about a historian named Will Durant, who in the 19-teens and 20s was a socialist. I forget I think it was a Ph.D. in philosophy, which I guess is Ph.D. technically, by definition. But he went on. He became famous because he wrote a series of articles in what's called Little Blue Books, which are pamphlets that were handed out at socialist rallies, and they were little chapters about philosophers from history. And he was writing as a socialist, and he wanted the common man to have an understanding of philosophy. He wanted education to reach the masses. And then after that, from 1930s to 1970s, he spent 40 years writing a 10-volume history of civilization, like a popular history of civilization. And over that period of time, he came to realize, holy shit, I was completely fucking wrong in my politics. Like this Marxist socialist stupidity is what leads to the collapse of civilizations, not the other way around. And so I'm not surprised at all that Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins and Will Durant and other avowed atheists and avowed socialists or just leftists in general, leftist intellectuals, a lot of them start having these, I don't want to say come to Jesus moments, but become more open-minded.
Yeah,
as they come to the end of their lives.
You don't want to think this is it.
As experience, well, and as they gain experience in the real world. Richard Dawkins right now is out speaking against woke bullshit. I don't know how much you paid attention to that.
They could do more though. This is the thing.
They could do more. He could do more. Yes, but he's at least willing to say, as an evolutionary biologist, that there's only two genders. So. I'm not saying that I love him or anything, but at least he's willing to say some things that are true.
It was a good book. And look,
Selfish Gene, great book.
I used to like watching in my misspent youth the Hitchens and just sort of slap down those iterant muzzes for their
True, he was good at that, yeah.
extremism, but
he was equal opportunity, and yeah, but it's sad how isolated their voices have become in Britain now.
Yep. And get rid of the old, and then the young don't know any better.
Just another fallout from the COVID pandemic too.
Yeah,
loss of accrued wisdom. Anyway.
All right. What did we have next? I think some stats, maybe.
Well, we had a whole bunch of different things.
Oh, yeah.
We were eventually going to lead into the I can't remember his name now. Greg or Richard?
Yeah, we kind of did.
Or do we want to wait?
We did the press release.
Oh, we did the press release. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so COVID news. So, are we seeing evidence of was going to say Geert Wilders, but it's not Geert Wilders. Geert Vandenbosch. The summer COVID Geddon, and maybe we are because, I'll pull this one up first, but where was it? The DNC may have been a massive COVID super spreader event. That RNA just jumping hither and thither, Charles. Can you imagine?
Now, it must have been just releasing infectious clones through the. Actually, we don't even have to talk about this anymore because apparently JC might be retiring from his stupidity.
Well, he's just gonna teach biology online now.
Well, you know what? There was a time when I believed that he was wise, and
Yeah.
it's gonna take some. It's gonna take a lot of something for me to get back to that point again.
Well, anyway,
His
with
massive super spreader event. Kind of like that cult in November 2019 in Korea. This was a cult in 2024. There you go.
Yeah, the fuckers that nearly did me in, assholes. But yes, so COVID is doing the round still, and your local Dems have been fueling the spread, I guess, even though RNA can't spread apparently. But, what does this mean? And are there signals that the worst is yet to come? And maybe I again, this is anecdotal, but I came across this. Now I can't remember where I saw or who to credit for this, but I don't know who iBreakFans is. I don't follow them. COVID is airborne, and almost 60% of transmission is from the symptomless infected people all around you. That's why we need masks, at least in healthcare. Anyway, this nurse is going to relay her current experience as a consequence. I don't know if it's the direct consequence of Kamala Harris's shindig, but let's see what she has to say.
Have y'all noticed that scary COVID is making a comeback? Real post reaching out to my fellow healthcare workers. Like, I've noticed it and I was afraid to say it out loud, but today I finally discussed it with some coworkers. We've seen a lot this past weekend, this past couple of weeks of COVID patients that are ill in the way that the original real bad COVID patients were ill. They're coming in, hypoxic, and they probably have been that way for a while and winding up on BiPAPs. Some of them are that special brand of COVID confusion. Those of you that worked with it know what I mean, where you're alert and oriented ×4, but like they are still confused, or maybe just not able to comprehend what's happening. I don't know how to describe it, but again, if you know, you know. In general, I know we've seen like a lot more COVID patients over the last month than I have in a long time, but specifically these type of very sick ones, I'm noticing more and more and more of them coming, and it makes me want to throw up. My colleagues and I were talking about it today, how awful it was to nurse during that time period. You guys have heard me talk about it before. I cannot describe the way that traumatized me. The amount of people's last words that I have that are forever seared into my brain. I cannot do this again.
I'm digging the herpes lesion on the. Can you see that on the screen?
Barely.
I mean, it's a healing herpes lesion, but.
Sorry, let me.
Nurses. What can I say?
So maybe it's just in my area.
Oh yeah.
If my colleagues could let me know, what are you guys seeing from your COVID patients? Are they just the less sick, more flu-like version, or are y'all seeing some of the real bad sick ones come back?
So interesting data point, and what are we to make from that? If we're to buy into, I was going to say Wilders again, but Geert Vandenbosch, which is the what are they called? The non-specific antibodies basically they've run their course because of vaccination, right? So you're basically priming your immune system to act in or focus like a laser beam on the previous spike protein mutations or adaptations, I should say, and variants. And you're essentially reliant on these non-specific antibodies as the sort of last line of defense. And once the virus finds an adaptation around those, then essentially it's a worst case scenario. I don't know what he means by worst case scenario in this instance, like the everyone's going to die off en masse. I don't think we've seen that. I have no doubt that even with minimal testing, you're still seeing large numbers. It's there in the wastewater. It's, I'm seeing plenty of reports like this, and what's going on through the hospitals, etc. And so, who are making up those numbers going into the hospitals? And is it the unvaccinated or is it the vaccinated? That's the question here. And this obviously, of course, happens not only in the context of the fall of these non-specific antibodies to adaptation of the virus, but then you have the IG class switching, which basically is just going to ignore the viral pathogen as an essentially harmless allergen.
Well, and well, before I get to that, I just sent you something in Discord, and I just wanted to talk about super spreading events as a whole, because this isn't the first time that Democrats have had a super spreading event. I just sent you something. Yeah, there we go. That graph is how I showed that there was a direct correlation between the George Floyd protests and the start of the second wave in a whole slew of states. And it's kind of hard to make out, but basically the red line is the day...
St. Floyd of Fentanyl Day.
Yeah, St. Floyd of Fentanyl Day. That's the red line. And then the brown squares... So what you're seeing is all 50 states. You're seeing, and the way I sorted it was by blue states or Democratic states and then Republican states on the bottom. And then within those two categories, I sorted it by dates that the states reopened. And so the brown little square is the date that state reopened. And so you see the cascading curve as the red states all opened before the Floyd protests. There were actually still some states, Democrat, but on the whole, they opened later, and a bunch of Democratic states reopened after the Floyd protests. But what you see is that in most of the states where there were protests, regardless of whether their lockdowns had ended or not, you had an outbreak of the second wave starting within the same few days for almost all of the states. So basically what that means is it was the protesters who were causing the spread, because some of those states were still technically locked down to begin with. So how could the virus start spreading if it was locked down?
Well, all I can say is, Charles, I'm struggling with the data analytics here because I can just see your unconscious racism bleeding through.
Oh,
you made it all brown. You made them brown.
Well, the
brown
brown is the date of lockdowns. It is not the date of protests. But yes, so what that shows is that the start of the waves, we could go into more detail, but basically it's showing that there was a correlation that had nothing to do with the lockdown date ending. It had to do with, or even if you
Oh,
did
yeah,
it.
I remember watching it in real
Yeah.
time. As
When you have thousands of protesters on the streets, people say, okay, well, it doesn't spread it's not as easy to spread outside. That's absolutely correct. But guess what? All those people who protested,
yeah, but when you're
they had to
crowded into
get
that
they had to
footlocker,
get
sir,
to the protest site. They had to get back from the protest site in vehicles, presumably. They stayed with family and friends wherever they went to go protest. So yes, they were out and about intermingling, and so yes, that's why you would then see 7 to 14 days afterwards, 7 to 21, you magically started seeing the second wave coming in through the summer. That was not in any way correlated to the opening of the states to the lockdowns. So, but who am I? I'm not a data scientist.
you can't say that now.
Well, actually, I wasn't a scientist, but I did work a lot with data. So anyway, yes, this isn't the first time that Democrats have caused waves of COVID, if indeed that is the case. But to your second point, why is it even possible for COVID to be spreading in the middle of the summer in the United States? Or I guess it's still.
No, but it's been across
peak,
the summer.
It's been peak summer. So why is that happening when technically most of these respiratory diseases? Now, I will say that's not entirely true, because when you look at coronaviruses, the other human coronaviruses tend to oscillate. They kind of take turns, and I could go back and find the stuff. I'm just not going to do it right now, but I have graphs taken from the CDC website, showing how the different like HC43, OC. Well, I can't remember all their names, but the four main coronaviruses, how they oscillate throughout the year, and so there is a seasonality to them, and it's not specifically tied to winter. But when the pandemic first occurred, we don't even go into all those details.
Well,
the bottom line is
the important detail is
the important detail is that whether it's a coronavirus, or whether it's like on another screen you were showing whooping cough, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Go to that whooping cough, and guess what? Whooping cough cases are soaring to new heights in Canada. What's behind the sudden spike? This is where, when you tie this together with the spreading coronavirus, what are we actually seeing? It's a global drop in immunity. Bacterial infection roaring back post-pandemic after global drop in immunity, scientists say. And what is the cause of that global drop in immunity?
It's hold my beer right there, sir.
My beer.
Hold my beer. There's this one.
Boom.
In the
Oh man, I didn't even know this was coming.
Yeah.
That was great. We're just in sync. Our menses are syncing. Look at that.
There you go.
Huh.
A new.
AIDS and COVID-19 are two diseases separated by a common lymphocytopenia. Oh, how shocking. Should have said spoiler alert, Kevin. Didn't see that coming.
This is actually a recent paper, and this is. We should probably do a stream about it, but they actually do direct comparisons between HIV and SARS. And if I just remember off the top of my head, but it was something like they both attack CD4 cells, but SARS has an even higher propensity to wipe out your CD8 natural killer cells. And
shocker.
That, of course, comes on the back of these skyrocketing cancer cases that we see.
That is
everywhere. And is it necessary to have the virus knock out those CD8 cells? What about if it's just spike protein and they've gone and zapped billions, literally billions?
Well, we've already known, they've done the studies to show that starting a little bit with the second, but especially with the third mRNA shot, you're going to see this IgG4 class switching accelerate. They haven't done a bunch of studies that kind of tries to look at whether reinfection with the virus is also and or in combination with the vaccine, what effect that has. They haven't quantified that as clearly, and it's hard to quantify anyway, obviously. But we can reasonably assume that there's some crossover. Now, part of it is in particular due to the mRNA platform and the way that it works. But I would be willing to bet dollars to donuts that infection works in not the same but similar mechanisms. Could it be Gert van den Bosch's?
Maybe. I'm just
so-
reading this. So the total absolute numbers of T cells,
Yeah.
and in particular CD8 subpopulations, are lower in COVID-19 patients compared to AIDS ones, while CD4 are reduced in both at similar levels. These results indicate
Wow,
that the host immune system reacts differently to the two infections,
which we know.
responsible of a comparable effect, dropping effect on the serum levels of CD4 T cell population.
God, that's almost sounds like what we've been saying.
Yeah,
for 2 years.
imagine.
God, imagine that. So slightly different mechanism, but similar results. Oh, God. And you know where I first discussed that in depth? On JC's show
Yeah,
on
but
July 4th, 2022. You're welcome.
that was
Where he said, where he praised me for 5 minutes, saying, I can't believe the quality of this investigative work you've done. And that was the thing I was pointing out. I was pointing out that they knew about this before the pandemic, and then they hid these specific aspects of it. And then I proved it by going back in time. And what was I saying? That they understood this concept that they didn't need to use the same exact HIV mechanisms, because DC sign doesn't require the exact same epitopes. It just requires a pattern of glycoprotein epitopes. And that's one of the 2 or 3 major mechanisms that HIV uses. So what you end up with is some of the same outcomes, but they're not the same. You end up with some of the same signatures in HIV patients or in AIDS patients that you would see in COVID patients. But what you ultimately end up with is a similar outcome, which basically can be translated as your immune system is nuked. It's not the exact same pathway, but they learned how to do it. They learned how it works through their study of HIV over the previous decades. And wow. Yeah, so we'll definitely need to do an in-depth on this, but I need to actually read the paper because this is, just as I'm glancing through it, damn, wow. We've been, time flies when you're having fun. Wow, I can't, yeah, well, you just dropped this paper and, but yeah, you're right. This is a damning.
I want to get those it's important to get those pages done.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, when did you get here? Do I even want to know? Probably not. Oh, okay. So not too bad. Wow.
It took me 3 hours to get the stream together.
Well, let's see. Well, yeah. I mean, we've only been going for an hour and a half. But anyway, folks. I mean, yeah. This has actually been. At some point, I see people saying, "Okay, I never said what the blue and green colored blotches are. Didn't explain it in the graph." At some point later in the future, I can break it down. I actually wrote an article back in 2020 where I talked about it. But you see the different color, like the different colors is. If you look on the right-hand side, there's a chart, and what that chart is showing is that's a proportion of the cases as a proportion of the total population of the state. And so as the color goes from green down to like a reddish, as it gets darker, that's a higher proportion. And I want to say, without looking at it, like it was like 0.01% of the population in terms of cases. So out of the state's total population, that's the number of cases that on that date that had been confirmed. And so I could go into depth. What really matters here is that the brown, which is the date the lockdowns ended, and the X's that you see, that you see in June, those are the dates that are the start of the exponential growth of the next wave. So I could go more into depth, but the important thing is to see that those X's cluster, but typically are between 10 and 17 days after the George Floyd protests, which George Floyd died on the 26th, but the protests didn't start till the 29th. St. Floyd of Fentanyl. I'm sorry, my apologies. St. Floyd of Fentanyl's death. The protest started on the 29th and went through the 2nd of June. And so, so Kevin, yeah. So at some point later, we can talk about it. I did discuss it in an article back from 2020 that's still on LinkedIn. But anyway,
If you didn't catch up from what Charles was saying, I didn't realise it was so bloody late. It will take me, I don't know, it's a nature paper, so
yeah,
it will take me a couple of hours to go through it.
yeah,
We don't have the time to study.
oh yeah, we didn't even get to the piece de resistance. But then you dropped that other one. So I'm gonna do a deep read of that other one,
I can't get
and then we'll do.
paper.
So we could either do this one tonight, this Fibrin paper tonight, or tomorrow morning. Yeah, and so yeah, we got to finish wrapping those last two cages, and then
We can come back. Yeah, you had some science in the end, a bit of a different trajectory, but we'll dip into that as well. But yeah, that's why is it talk about this stuff? What are what we left with the fingerprints of biological war?
it's still somebody's. I don't know if I'm just behind, but somebody is saying that their mic is still muted.
Still muted. Oh, sorry, that was me again. That's yeah.
Now,
Dude, whilst
I
I've
can
got
hear you.
some coordination left,
Now I can hear you.
let's do
Kevin's mic got DC signed.
yeah. I didn't realize how late in the day it was, and we had a job to do today.
Yeah.
It's been a tortuous process so far, with lots of just like messing with any complex system just throws curveballs at you. So we did some science. I don't have another 2 hours to put into the paper that I want to, because I think it's important, because I think it's really at the heart of what we're looking at, or one of the primary pathological mechanisms, apart from the flying HIV part.
Well, I think this is a good getting back in the saddle stream. We had a short trip to Tokyo. We've been working a lot in the lab, so we will. We're going to be doing. I anticipate we're going to do quite a bit of streaming, because I'm going to be flying back to the U.S. Basically a week from now. So I'm going to try to maximize my help in the lab and in the streaming space, and then I'll be back there for a month, and then I'll be back here. So we will.
Which is why we have to do these jobs.
Yeah. So I think this is a good kind of getting back in the saddle kind of stream, and then I'm going to look into that the last paper that you showed that looks at the comparisons between HIV and that, so I'll look into that so we can discuss that in a future stream. But then in the next stream, whether that's tonight or in the morning, we can look at the Fibrin plot paper and kind of maybe even juxtapose that with that press release or something. I don't know. We'll see-
Yeah,
we'll see.
well, I hope to catch up with Greg, but again, it's so, what I thought would be a 1-2 day job has turned into far more difficult undertaking, basically.
What are you referring to?
Just wrapping, shielding.
Oh yeah, the shielding cage.
That's just.
Well, because as we've done that, we've been troubleshooting a whole bunch of other issues, and so. But the good news is we're getting good, and we should.
Well, we should get it done today.
We just got to get
I'm
this
gonna be
stream done,
locked
unfortunately.
out of, I cannot tell if you didn't.
So I know we had one dono from Curious Knuckle. Thank you.
And Gaza, thank you. And whoa, Momo, yesterday. Thank you very much. That goes a long way.
Bang. Yes. Hey,
all
I
right.
need to strip to get some shekels myself. Man, gosh.
All right. Yeah. I apologize for ending abruptly. I just looked at the clock and I'm like, wait, what? And what? That's, well, let's just say 2 hours per cage. Or that minimum. Right, I bet we're not getting out of here till 8.
No.
Anyway, so.
No, I disagree. I think we got this. I already got this stuff cut, so
All right.
I think we'll be fast.
All right. Let's not hold off though. Thank you for tuning in, and we will be back with the Fibrin paper and the HIV, flying HIV paper. All right, we're out of here. Take care. God bless.
All right.
You are free. But I warn you, if you make any further inquiries, or if you say a single word to anyone about what you have seen, there will be the most dire consequences for you and your family. Do you understand?